Hi, today we're going to make an in the hoop holder for these pocket tissues. It's a quick and easy design, and it's a great way to protect these tissues and keep them from falling apart. The design stitches completely in the hoop and includes an option for a little loop. So, I've got my instructions printed out here. I've printed out the layout guide. This shows me which each run is, and I've used it to help decide which color thread I want to use. I've got my instructions here. It gives me my materials, some tips, and as well as the instructions for each run and what I need to do in it. So I'm going to start with looking at my materials here. I've got some 505 spray. I've got the little ribbon. This is the ribbon that you use to make that loop. I've got my scissors for trimming when I'm done. I've got stabilizer. This is plain tearaway stabilizer. You can use pretty much any stabilizer for this. It's already in the hoop. And I've got my material over here. So let's go over to our sewing machine, and we'll put the hoop in the machine, and then we'll check on our fabric and we can get started. So for fabric, I need a 6.5 by 4.5 inch pieces. It's got 3 of them in total. There's one for the back, and then the 2 for the front, both of which need to be folded. I've already ironed the one flat here, and I'm just going to go over how to iron these to make a nice crease. So the best way to do is line up your edges there. Make sure you've got it. If you have a pattern, you can check to make sure that the fold is where you want it on that pattern. Do a quick press. If you're happy with how it looks, you like that, it's okay. But you can see this is still pretty loosely pressed. It's, you know, not too bad if we want to adjust it. If we're happy with it, we'll go ahead and press it down. And you're going to press and hold for a couple of seconds. The reason you use this fold is that what gives you a nice edge there on the tissue holder. So it creates that folded edge on the front and gives you a little bit of a lining on the top. So now that we've spritzed this and pressed it, you can see we've got a nice crease here. It's going to hold its shape. See how nice that crease is? And it's going to hold its shape, and it's going to give you that edge right here on the design. So that fold creates that. So I think we're ready to get started. Let's just come over and check out our design. Now I'm going to skip I don't want to do the achoo and the gesundheit. I don't think it goes with the holiday fabric I've chosen. So I'm going to go into the little edit here for the colors. If you have a single needle machine, you don't need to worry about this. But for folks with a multi-needle, and the other thing I'm going to do is I want it to be all that same green for those. So I'm just going to pick a green and tell it, you know, green, green, green. I'm going to add an extra stop in there so that I can skip that achoo and gesundheits. And then we'll do one more green. And actually that last stitching, which is the stitching around the very edge to hold those, does some over stitching to hold that down. I want to do that one in white. So I've selected my colors here. I can go ahead and close that, edit end, and we're ready to start sewing. So, oops, I need to do a little switch here so that it knows which colors are which. I just want to do a thread swap and swap 1 and 2 because it's got them backwards here. So I'm going to do that, and now it's got white and green, and those are the colors I'm going to be using. And we're ready to start. So it's going to go ahead and stitch this first run. This run will show me where to place the fabric. So as soon as it finishes stitching, you'll need to take the hoop off of the machine. And as I said, it just does a quick placement line. And we'll take this off the machine. Now, it's important to notice the orientation. My machine my hoop only has one little tightening point down here, and I'm always going to keep that to the front left. You always want to note how you took the hoop off the machine so you get it back in the same spot. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to take our fabric, and we're going to give it a quick spritz with the 505 spray. This will help keep it from moving. You always want to spray this away from your machine or anything else. You can go outside to spray even if you want. Now, when you place this down, you want to place it right on that line. Just cover that line. Don't go below it or it'll be too far down. If you put it above it, though, it's going to end up stitching. The flap won't be quite enough. So we've got that right on that line. And now we're going to put it in the machine, and it's going to stitch this in place. So this will take just a few seconds. And then once this stitches, we'll take it out of the hoop off of the machine, and we'll add the second part. So just going to stitch around the edges, and then once more across the front to reinforce that front seam where the flap is. So it's stitched. We'll come over here, and we'll take our second one. We've got the folded edge that's going to go right up along there. I'm going to put just a little bit of 505 on the fabric, again, so it doesn't move or wiggle too much. And I'm going to line that up right on top of those stitches there and center it across. Press it down.
Is there an overlap there?
There is an overlap, and that creates that little bit of a flap that you'll have to keep your tissue holder closed. And you want to keep it reasonably close to those lines because the pattern's designed to stitch that just like that. So we're going to do one more round here. And this is going to stitch across and around the edge of that one. Now, I'm going to actually skip the achoo and gesundheit. As I said, I don't think that's going to look good on my holiday fabric. So I'm just going into the plus minus stitching there, and I'm just going to advance by a color. This little spool thingy means a color. So that gets rid of the achoo and the gesundheit. And the next run is a line which goes all the way around the edge, and that's going to let me secure my little loop in place. So we'll come over here, and we're going to take our loop, and we're just going to put a little 505 on the end of it and pinch it closed. And I think we got enough. Let's see, do we have enough to, we'll put a, yeah, it should be good. Now you're going to place the loop with the loopy part pointing inside and the closed part on the outside, and then when that line goes around, it's going to stitch it. Now I like to place the loop in alignment with the opening, but you could put it, whoops, on the corner or top or wherever you want. The line goes completely around it, so you can add it wherever you like. So we'll go over here, and one more quick stitching. Oops, looks like my thread got loose there. Let's just rethread this real quick. Thank God for the automatic needle threaders. Don't you ladies just love them? Okay, ordinarily I would back that up a few stitches, but since this is just going around and my thing is up there that I want to stitch, I'm not even going to worry about it. So the loop is again, we're going to remove this. I usually don't use the 505 for my top layer because it makes it a little harder to turn. But I am going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to open up this flap a little bit. And I'm just going to put a little cut in there. So I have taken and just stuck my scissors through there and just done a small cut. And what that does is it makes it a lot easier to get the stabilizer off the back when you're done. So we take our backing fabric, we put that good side down, wrong side up, lay that down. If you wanted it lined, you could actually use the second piece and put the two backs together, but I don't really think it's necessary with the tissue holder. So I'm going to put this back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and start this last run. This is going to do some overstitching around all of the edges, and then we'll trim it. So this takes a couple of minutes to stitch. So while this stitches, I'm going to pause this and I'll see you when it's done stitching. Okay, the design has finished stitching, so we can go ahead and remove the hoop from the machine. Say thank you. Come over here, we can unhoop our design. We're going to just rip the stabilizer off. And we also want to get the stabilizer here from the middle area so we can stitch it. Now you will see you've got this loose thread in here. That's that thread that was that original placement line. You can go ahead and just cut that off. So I'm just going to cut that there and over here. And I'm just going to take the rest of that stabilizer off. Once you get it going, yes, it's there. It's usually pretty easy to finish removing that. So we'll take the stabilizer off there, and then we'll come get it off of this side. Again, it does help if you make that little slit there before you put the backing on. And then this should just come right off here. Okay, so I've removed all the stabilizer. And the next thing I'm going to do is to trim around these edges. I'm actually going to trim on this side because it's a little easier to see. So you want to trim as close as you can to those lines that you stitched. You don't want to actually cut them. That would be a bad thing. But you do want to get nice and close. There's a layer of overstitching there to help prevent raveling. So get as close as you can there so you won't have ravels. And we'll just keep moving around those edges. Trim, trim, trim. Trim the corners. And 2 more edges and we'll be done. Oops, get too close. You could also use rotary scissors if you prefer. I like my large, longer blade ones for this though. And 1 more edge. And you're done. So we're all set here, and we can just turn the design now. So I'm just going to grab it, and I'm just going to push in those corners as I turn it, and we'll turn it this way, and push that corner out, and then we'll push this last corner out. Let's get that corner turned a little better. Oops, that one didn't get turned very well, so just keep turning those. Sometimes I'll take my needle, my seam ripper with the cap on, so I've got the blunt end, and use that to help push those corners out. So the corners are all turned. I've got a design. It's ready for a pack of tissues, and you can just tuck the pack of tissues right in there, and it's ready to keep in your purse or wherever you want. If you want it, you could also put a small little snap closure there or a piece of Velcro to help keep it closed, but it actually stays closed pretty well on its own like this. So, I hope you've enjoyed this design. It's quick, it's easy to make, it's all done completely in the hoop. No additional stitching is necessary. If you enjoyed this design, please check it out on my Etsy shop. That's LLH Embroidery at Etsy. Please check out this design and my other In the Hoop designs as well. Thank you and happy stitching.